Right, so now we're going to be making seamless textures using Midjourney. So if you've ever wanted to create seamless textures for, say, something you're rendering or designing, or even a 2D image, you know that it can be really hard to find these good seamless textures from the internet. We can actually use AI to create our own seamless textures and really narrow it down specifically to exactly what you want and get that perfect texture. So what we're going to do is open up Midjourney, and I'll show you just an example. We say, let's just make a grass texture. So we're just going to /imagine, you go grass -- tile -- AR 1:1. So by setting these prompts, you're essentially saying, show me just grass. Tile is going to give you a tileable texture, so you're able to seamlessly put the textures together and you won't get any uneven edges or non-repeating patterns. The aspect ratio 1:1 means it's going to be a square image. So we'll just press enter. So this is what our first result is. You can see it kind of looks, it's got this kind of cartoony look to it, which can be cool depending on what you're using it for, but we want to try using realistic grass. So we'll go realistic grass. So here we go. This bottom right one actually looks a little bit too realistic, so we'll use this one so we can upscale it by going U4. So this looks great. We can go ahead and save image. Now we'll open up Photoshop and bring this image into Photoshop. So we want to go ahead and open Photoshop, and we'll go ahead and drag and drop. So now we have our image here, and unlock the image, and we'll go to image canvas size. We'll change it to %. And change it to 300% for both width and height. Now we can go ahead and copy by using Alt and drag. We'll copy our image into it as a tile. Let's repeat this until you've filled up the canvas. So you see we have a pretty good seamless, tileable grass texture, but if you look closely, you can kind of see this grid within it, which kind of doesn't look exactly seamless, because if you zoom out, you can see these kind of spots within it. So we can go ahead and use the spot healing brush. First of all, we need to go onto our layers and select them all by holding Shift and click, and then press Ctrl E. This flattens it all into one image. So now we can use our spot healing tool. So we can kind of brush over these light spots that we don't want to kind of break up the texture a little bit. So you can see that before and after, it's kind of removed those kind of spots that are too bright. That makes the texture seem a little bit more seamless, or sorry, less tiled. It makes a more flatter, seamless texture compared to what we had before. So that works pretty well for our grass. So we'll hop back into Midjourney. Let's try making a stone tile texture. We'll make it ultra realistic this time. Ultra realistic stone tile. So put in that prompt and we'll see what it comes up with. So you can see all of these are looking, I quite like the top left one actually, it's quite nice. However, some of these have kind of unconventional cuts and lines within it, because ideally you'd want a square stone tile texture. So what we can do is go into Google and kind of find just a reference image. So say we want it to look something similar to this. So we can copy the image address. We'll do the exact same thing, but put in this image first as a kind of reference. So Midjourney will look at this image and use it as the base of it. Then we'll add in the same prompt as before. So we'll see what this comes up with. And there we go. So it's used our reference image to create a more square looking stone tile. You can see there's still some unconventional lines within it. So how you combat that is just by simply finding a more refined kind of base texture image. We'll try once more. Thought they would have refined this more in version 5.2, but possibly not. I've heard it might be coming to version 5.3 or in the future. But for now, I think this is a really good way to kind of create your own curated tiled and seamless textures. And there we go. So our bottom right image is a perfectly tiled stone texture. We've even got a little bit of rust going on there, so we can bring this into Photoshop if we wanted to, and again use that spot healing brush tool to get rid of these kind of rusty areas. But I actually quite like it, and I think I'd use this within my project. Also, something you can quickly do if you want to actually use this in a 3D model. Say you want to bring this into something such as Unreal Engine or Blender, we can actually make a copy and go into Filter and generate a bump map. So if you know anything about 3D modeling and rendering, when you insert a texture, you need a height map. So we can see in Photoshop that you can create height maps and bump maps from these images. So when you import them, you actually get a realistic looking 3D texture. Might make a video on this in the future if you actually want to see how this is utilized and how this will actually look, say within Unreal Engine. But for now, that's how you make seamless textures using Midjourney.